I can make that G5 sound pretty okay in my voice because I'm not actually pushing a lot. I'm not and pushing. What's up, guys? This is Matt from RamseyVoice.com, and I'm a real vocal coach and singing teacher. And today I'm going to be reacting to, taking punches from Brendon Urie's best vocal lines. And I have to be honest, Brendon Urie, a phenomenal singer, obviously. People talk about him all the time, but I haven't actually worked on a whole lot of Panic at the Disco songs. I remember when they first came out too. They seemed like not a big deal at the very beginning, and then they just became this huge deal that everybody knows them. And you know, I know that they've worked a lot with my teachers like Jeffrey Skousen and some other IVA teachers and SLS people. I think that's super cool, and we're probably gonna be able to see some of Brendon's training in some of his singing performances. So I'm really excited to take a look and kind of maybe learn a little bit more about this young man as a singer and as an artist, and you know, have some fun along the way. By the way, if you guys find this video helpful, make sure to hit like, comment with the next song that you want to see me react to, subscribe, and turn on notifications for this channel. Or if you're ready to get started and improve your singing voice today, check out my complete singing course, Master Your Voice. And make sure, most importantly, utmost importance, is that you watch until the end of the video to see whether this really merits a 5-star performance. Okay, let's jump in.
And you miss him like you miss no other. Be blue, it's better than being over it, over it.
Okay, so we've got two interesting things. So we've got a B4, the and then he goes at the very top there. Now, I think a lot of people are going to expect me to talk about the F-sharp 5 at the top there, but I actually want to talk about the B4. The it's actually a little bit flat if you listen to it, and I think he repeats it again. He's pushing. And I think that that's, you know, because that's a very, very difficult note for a lot of guys to sing. And so one tool that comes to mind as a voice teacher that I'm sure his own voice teachers have worked on with for him a lot is actually starting from that note and coming down. Like say on a actually starting from that top note can make a big difference, because if you're so used to, as a guy, starting from a low note and walking up to a high, like a it can be very, very easy to just pull and strain and go super flat. But if you start from if you start from that top note, it can be a lot easier. Now, what's going on in that F-sharp 5? I mean, he's just gonna he's just pushing for it pretty much as hard as he can, dropping his jaw a ton, doing it on a very, very open vowel, and that's the secret behind that. I don't find it particularly skillful. I think it's very exciting, and I think it's really cool, and he's taking a lot of risks, kind of like a Jeff Buckley kind of voice, and I think that that's really cool. Let's see what happens next. Woo! Yeah, so F sharp to E5 up to an A5 and back to the F sharp 5. Now this is more interesting to me because he is actually staying at the very, very highest part of his tessitura. I can't even get up to the A5. G5 is the highest that I go. So I'm suitably chastened. I think that that's a really, really impressive note. And the way that he's getting up there, a whole lot of trying to get, you know, as high as you possibly can with as little tension as possible. So lip trills are a great way to do that. Wow! And again, in an A5. I can't do it.
Say what you need, tell me I'm right.
So that was the G5 up there. And you can see kind of where this video is going. It's all about just the highest notes that he can possibly hit. And for a large part of it, some of this is genetic in terms of like how thin a person's vocal cords are and how much they can stretch them out in order to get up to those highest notes in their voices. But a lot of that is also training. Obviously, this is a guy who's taken singing very seriously for a really, really long time and has learned to work through all the different parts of his voice. So even, you know, though he can start singing in his second bridge, like we said, like in that earlier song, he can also go way, way higher than that too, although it's way less in control.
On me, give me a sign of what I believe.
Ooh. G5.
Show them all you're not the ordinary kind.
Woo! A5 again. Man, that's insane. This is not whistle register just yet. Although a guy's whistle register can probably start around here, for the most part, this is just the highest part of his head voice, and he's getting there doing a really, really high larynx pharyngeal. Kind of a feeling. Okay.
Ready to go.
8 to G up there. And I want to point out that those couple notes, those ones are the ones that I would actually work on probably even a little bit more, not necessarily for the entire lesson or anything like that, because obviously those highest notes are really, really important too. The ones in the middle are actually really important too, because those are the ones that are going a little bit flat. They're going a little bit flat and they need to be worked on.
I'm gonna be totally honest, I almost passed out on that note. That was
And you know, just hearing his speaking voice for a second, it is interesting. He is a higher tenor. You can hear it pretty clearly in his speaking voice.
that was
Yeah.
I wanna live a life from a new perspective. Come along because I love your face. I'll admire your expensive taste.
And that's actually a really cool song to me. That sounds really, really cool. That's something that's like more along the lines of what I would actually listen to. So that's maybe part of the reason why I haven't listened to them, is there's a bunch of songs that I should really unearth here and explore more.
Oh, dear, falling on board. Oh, dear, falling on board.
Up to that A5 again. It's like he knows that that's the highest note in his voice, and they've reharmonized their song so that he can like up to that whenever he needs to.
Till we feel alright.
Yeah, and so if you want to try some of these notes at home, what I would recommend is doing it on like kind of like a more kind of funny or maybe kind of a bratty sounding ah. Like for instance, in my voice, I could start right here. This would probably be about the top. Like ah. I can make that G5 sound pretty okay in my voice because I'm not actually pushing a lot. I'm not ah and pushing. I'm keeping it super ugly, and that actually thins out the vocal cords, which allows me to get to my head voice a little bit easier, but it still keeps the cords closing, which gives you that really, really bright glottal sound that you want here.
I said, now that you people never heard of closing a goddamn door.
That's somewhere in between an A and a B flat. I'll go ahead and give him the B flat 5. That's the highest note I've heard him sing so far.
once again very much. Have fun with
Oh my goodness. Guys, this was a phenomenal performance. Look at this guy go. This is really, really amazing. I have to admit a couple of things. So, number one, people get into, shall we say, a peeing contest about how low and how high they can sing and what their range is. They're like, oh, I can sing from an E1 up to a C6. And it's like, can you really though? So what I'm seeing here is that Brendon can pretty well sing all the way up to an A5 in his voice. And, you know, when people would like look at the actual range of the singer, I could see them being like really tempted to be like, oh, he can sing like 6 octaves and stuff like that. This is like a higher tenor voice. Like, this is what he can do. And there's nothing to be ashamed of if you have only up to like an F5 or a G5 or an A5, or even if you only have up to an A4. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is what you do with the range that you have. Now, he's uncovered this little trick that he can do with his voice where you, that he can like really, really stretch his voice. And with a little bit of that kind of, shall we say, kind of ugly, bratty kind of sound, he can actually make it sound really, really full in the top part of his voice. It's definitely not falsetto. But if you can only get to, you know, an E or something like that, that's totally fine. And you should really, really just work on making all the notes in the middle of your range sound as great as they can, because as we saw, Brendon actually had a harder time probably with the B4 in his second bridge than he did with the A5 an octave above that. So let that be a lesson to you. Make sure to keep working on the notes in the middle of your voice. So I'm gonna give this performance a 5 out of 5 stars. I think he's done a really, really great job in singing. He's definitely connected. He definitely knows all those parts of his voice, but all the flatness and stuff like that that happens in the middle, that's real life. That's real singing. And it's really, really important to continue working on that stuff if that's an issue for you. Guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure you click like, comment with the next song that you want to see me react to, subscribe and turn on notifications. Or if you're ready to get started and improve your singing voice today, check out my complete singing course, Master Your Voice.